Russell, would you want to come up for item 8, the financial performance report?
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. And good morning and Happy New Year to all. Seems a bit odd saying that, doesn't it, with February next week. This is the financial performance report for December, so it's a half-yearly report, and because it's a quarterly report as well, there's a bit more detail in it than would be in the traditional monthly report. So I'll pretty much take the paper as read, Mr. Chair, but I'll just go through a few salient points. So for the period ended December, the overall position was a small deficit of $2.3 million. This was significantly less than the budgeted deficit for the period to date by about almost $22 million, so 21.7. The forecast for the end of the year is $19.88 million. So that was a jump of about $7 million than what we reported through to November. The reasons for that are highlighted in the report. The biggest items have been, I guess, the subvention receipts that we will be receiving in March, a reduction in parks maintenance costs, an improvement in the interest costs, and the EcoCentral rebate. In addition to that, we've been discussing with the budget managers just to be quite clear when they're looking at the projections where that's going to be, rather than, I guess, just keep funds back for a rainy day type that we have had in the past, that they're actually say the position as we think best it's going to be, and so we're seeing I guess an uplift in that, which is driving that increase in the forecast. So just overall, the overall forecast of almost $20 million. So what's driving that? Building and planning consent volumes, they're up by about $3 million, just over. That's offset by a little bit by the additional costs in that space. Rec and sport, additional attendance and usage of the facilities has seen a rise in the revenues coming through. Rates over strike, we've mentioned that a couple of times, where the growth was higher than had anticipated. Subvention receipts, almost $3 million coming through, additional coming through later in March. And in the, I guess, the expenditure space, insurance costs, the reduction of almost $8 million. Now we've spoken about that before. Waste management, recycling and processing fees are lower, so that's about $4.2 million better than budget. Personnel costs we expect to be under budget by about $3 million at year end. And again, the parks, underspend in maintenance and rates and capital owned properties will be less than we'd budgeted. Debt servicing, that's going to be down for a couple of reasons. One is the funds that we've got addition from the wastewater treatment plant, so we're borrowing less while those funds are used, and the hedging that we've put in place is offset a reduction, so that's good. All those are being offset by higher costs in Three Waters, maintenance costs and capitalisation time, and like I said, the building consent costs are higher than we'd budgeted. In the capital space, overall we're projecting, and more will be following in the report following me. The core program will be underspent by projecting by about $37.6 million. In contrast, the One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha, that's going to be an early year spend by $8.7 million, so a net of $29 million overall at this stage. And there will be requests, we understand, for most of that to be requested to be carried forward, but that will come through in the August report once the year has been completed. So that a couple of those other items that I mentioned in the 6-monthly report that are, so we've got the Treasury, so everything is in line with policy compliance, that's good. Borrowing, so you can see the overall borrowing position there, where it's going to be, so we're on track. Rates debt, we've seen a decrease of just over $1 million in the December quarter. So overall, when we look at the table on section 8.2, you'll see that we're pretty static where it's sitting. So, and taking into account the challenges that we have, the higher rates and the economic outlook that we're looking at, overall that's pretty stable. We see that as pretty positive for council. General debt, small change, a drop of about 400,000 generally, and there's a couple of larger invoices that are in dispute, so we're working through those. Insurance claims, just one for the quarter for a motor vehicle. And also attached to the report, there's a detail of ops and capital breakdown by activities. So, like I say, quite a bit more detail in this particular report than the other monthly reports. But happy to take any questions, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that, Russell. That was very good in terms of explaining it to everyone. Any questions? Yanni?
I just had two questions. One, the first one was we're getting the budgets for the Hagley Park car parking charges. So I understand it from a revenue point of view. We set a budget. This is how much we've got. But given that the objective for that wasn't around increasing revenue, it was actually around getting better turnover and better access for people to go and use the Botanic Gardens in Hagley Park. Are we able to get the data around the length of time that people are staying and the vacancy occupancy rates attached to the financials, so we can see?
For Russell.
Well, because of the financial information is the one that gives us the data around what people are paying.
So we can get specific information, but Russell's not going to be able to provide that now. So,
sure.
So we'll make a note of that.
Just wondering if there's a way that we can see the spend per visitor or something like that.
Yep. So what's your second question? No. So we've made a note. What's your second question?
The second question is, and I sent through an email, I see that we're underspent in parks maintenance, but I've had a lot of, I've seen some examples of where people are concerned that some local parks maintenance isn't being done, and I know we've had, we always get this around this time of year, we get rain and then it gets a lot of growth.
Okay, so your question? The
question is, I'm surprised that we're underspent in that area, given the demands that we have in our community for the parks to be maintained. I get that there's some savings with, transferring it in-house.
What is your actual question? So not statements,
so the question
question? Yeah.
Is there any concern that we're not meeting our levels of service because we're underspent in the parks maintenance? And what's the ability to spend more to get the parks maintenance done better?
So that's a Rupert.
I did ask for a brief, if we could be briefed on it.
So hang on, you've asked, you've had your statement, and now your question. So let's hear from one of the staff.
I will have to come back to you with some detailed answers, but the Parks Department look after more than just the grass and the maintenance, so we have a set budget for the community park spaces, and then so it's over a wide area of different services that we maintain. So I can come back to you with some more detail, but we are, it's over a wide area, not just the local neighbourhood parks that we maintain.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you. Just on parks maintenance, it might be good to get an overview on service requests or complaints made over the last few months, parts of Christchurch, and how they stack up to the.
So this is the financial report where we monitor the budget.
Well, we're on the issue now, and if he's going to come back to us with information, it may as well be that kind of information.
Well, that would normally sit. I don't want to start the year off on a bad note, but if we just think about the purposes of these reports, normally if there are issues with levels of service, you would raise them in Peter Ryan's at the table. Russell's here to present the budget and how we're tracking from there. So we'll take your point, and I'm sure the team can do it, but as we're going through the year, if we can just try and keep back to the purposes of these reports. So I'm happy to move this report.
Could I just add, just before Christmas, we did our, Rupert's team did his parks update. All that information was in that report, so it will also be repeated in the next report. And just to add to Councillor Johansson's question, the point Rupert made is the actual community parks part of the budget is right on budget. The overall parks budget is what is showing as an underspend at the moment. So the work that you're referring to is pretty much on budget.
What's the area that's underspent in? Like, do we have a specific?
I think Rupert's going to come back. It was yeah. So I've moved it. Tim seconded it. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, Russell.
Thank you.
Nikki, do you want to come up for the capital report?